Hi, welcome to Robin's Roost. Today I'm going to show you how to make a fun tower bendy card. I actually saw this card done by Sam Calcott, I believe is her name, from the UK, and I kind of rearranged it for US measurements and did my own thing with the Penguin Place stamp set. So I thought I'd show you, and I hope you can take it and do your own thing with it as well. You know, swap it up and use different stamps, put your own style to it. So let's flip the camera and I'll show you how I made it. So if you would like a link to a printout that I did for my creative cards class, you can go on over to my blog, and I will have that link in the description of this video. That will give you all the measurements if you don't want to have to write them down right now. So let's get started. To start with, you're going to take a sheet of cardstock, and I'm using white, the white, thick white for this one. This is going to be our base. You're going to cut the cardstock into quarters. So each piece is going to be 5.5 by 4.25, and then you're going to score all of them at 2 1/8. We're also going to need for our bendy sheets 2 pieces that are 4.25 by 5, and then score them at 1/2 inch and 4.5. You're going to need a little tab. This is the support tab for the penguin. This is 3/4 inch by 2.5, and then scored at 1/2 inch on each side. You're going to need 4 pieces of designer series paper, and for this card I'm actually using the snowflake vellum with the fuzzy flocking on it instead of designer series paper. These are all 1 7/8 by 5.25. Then you're going to need some scraps to make your penguin, and I'm also adding a matting layer on the back. My first card that I made all white like this, it seemed like it just washed out the back greeting. So this one is 2.5 by 3.5, the white piece. And then the mat is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. So first of all, let's make our penguin, and then we'll have him out of the way. Oh, I did forget one piece. You're also going to need a window sheet. And I like to keep mine on a piece of tissue paper because I lose the darn things. And the window sheet is going to be cut 5.5 by 5.25. And then you're going to score it at 1/2 inch on each side, and you need to make sure when you score it that it's so your 5.5 is going to match your card height. So you're going to score it on the edges this way. So 5.5 by 5.25. And you want to score those really hard. So let's get back to our penguin. So we're going to do our black penguin. And then we need 2 yellow feet, or pumpkin pie is actually what I'm using here. And I'm just using a scrap strip. This is a great way to use up your scraps. And then this is also a scrap, and I'm going to do the white for his face and tummy. And this is an awesome punch. I believe it's retiring this year. So then we're going to go ahead and stamp his face. Well, let's go ahead and glue him together, because then he looks more funner. I'm not quite sure the correct term. So let's go ahead and glue his tummy and face on. And then we're going to use some liquid glue. And I like to put the glue on the little piece and then just go ahead and set the big piece onto the little one. Then we need some black ink for his eyes. There isn't a lot of stamping on this card. And I'm using Mango, is it Mango Melody? Yes, I'm using Mango Melody for his beak. And if you're doing a bunch of these, I like to put this on my Stamparatus so that I can get it nice and dark without having to try to line it up again. I'm just going to leave him alone for this one because I know the way things have been going that I would probably wreck it this morning. So we're just going to set him off to the side. Now we're going to start with our bases. This is the ones that we quartered, right? So let's take our bone folder, and a bone folder is really, really necessary for this card. It's key because you need all of these pieces scored and folded nice and crisply. So now what we're going to do is we're going to glue 3 of these together, kind of set the one off to the side. It's going to be our front. And we have more work to do on that one. So I like to use liquid glue for gluing these things together. You can use whatever you prefer. And you're just going to stack them up in a pile with the folds all on the same side. So then the one that's, how would you say it? It's got the crease in the middle. This is going to be your back. And this one is where you're going to glue your front. So we'll just set that off to the side for right now. And let's get started on doing our front. Now I'm putting the snow, gosh, I can't talk this morning. The snowstorm on here, and if you wanted to be a little bit more fussy, you could mix your liquid glue with some water and brush it on so you don't get any lines in it. But I found that for this card with the snowballs and it's kind of in the background, I didn't really notice the glue lines on it. Just keep your glue light so it's not real thick if you're using vellum. Next, we're going to put on our tab. Now, where you put your tab is going to matter on what die cut you're going to use for your bendy piece. And for this one, I'm just using a deckled rectangle. You can kind of pull it in here so you can judge where you want your penguin and where you want your support by what die cut you're using. And I'm just going to kind of put him in the middle because I think it's not going to matter. If you had something like an ornament or something, you might want to be more cautious about the placement. Now, if you're using colored cardstock, go ahead and match that with your support tab. And you can also put a layer of the designer series paper on it so that it blends in. Then you're going to give it a little curve so it kind of pops out. And that just kind of, I'm not sure if it breaks the fibers or stretches the fibers. I'm not what the right term is for that, but it creates a curve. And we're just going to, let's see, I think I need to be up a little higher, maybe. And you're going to center it, which is not my forte, but you could measure it if you wanted. And then we are going to, now I usually like my my little penguins to be at about shoulder height on my support. And I might have had this up a little bit high, but that's where it's going to be. So then I know if I'm going to put him at shoulder height, I know where I want my dimensionals. You can also use glue dots if you don't want him to stand out, depending upon what you're adding on here. So we'll go ahead and layer him on. And this card is going to fold flat and fit in an envelope when you're all done. So everything has to work being flat. So for our next step, we're going to take one of our bendy cards, or pieces, I guess it's not a card, and go ahead and score our tabs. And then let's get the fold in it. I like to do the rounding first before I do the die cutting, because if the die cut gets kind of close on an edge, it could be hard to do it. You can always add it back in a little bit after you're done. So I'm going to go and do my decal cut on here. So now, if I want to stamp something on here, now is the time to do it. And I think I'm going to add this cool, be cool, be chill, be merry. I think that's such a kind of a cute saying in the set. I think I've bent my stamp a few times too many. It wants to go crooked. So we're just going to add this across the bottom here. Now what we want to do is we want to add adhesive to the two tabs. I think our bend is still good. You could, if you didn't think it was still bent enough, you could gently, rebend it. But I think we're good on this one. And these are going to fold back. So we're just going to add the glue on this tab. And then carefully center this over our little penguin. And it's going to ride just about at the edge of your DSP. So that gives you kind of a spot to know where it sits, right along the edge of here. And it's nice to not have glue on your fingers. I see I had glue on my fingers. That's what these lovely glue erasers are for. They pick up the glue. Couldn't live without that little baby. So then our next step is going to be adding the window sheet. So we're going to pull our window sheet in here. And it's hard to tell which direction the score lines are, but I'm thinking it goes this way. Then we're going to take some tear and tape and add to the edge of the score tab. I don't know about you, but I always have a hard time working with these window sheets because they like disappear into whatever they're laying on. And then you can either, let's cut these after, because then I'll be sure I'm cutting where I want. Okay, so these are going to bend around. So we want to bend this into the tape. So the tape is on the inside. And this is actually the trickiest part of this entire card, because it's really hard to get this window sheet to bend. So it works really well once you get it bent. And you don't have to worry about trying to curve this, because it will curve once you have it on your card. So you're going to remove one side at a time of the tape cover. And this is going to just tuck in. Oh, wait, we forgot to cut. See, I should have cut it before. So we're just going to snip off these little corners so that they don't stick out. Just take a little slice out of the corners. If you forget, it's not a huge deal, but sometimes the little corner will stick out beyond. And we're just going to slide this tight into there. And burnish it down, and then go ahead and remove the other one. And you want it to all be nice and flat. That's the goal, is it's going to fit in an envelope. So there is our front of our card. Now let's put the front onto the base. So remember, the back has the folded part, and the front is going to be where you see the two pieces that are sitting together. And we're just going to add some adhesive on here. Now, by putting the front on last, you're going to cover up the edges of your window sheets. So we're just going to hold that together, and there we have that. And then we have our extra pieces of pretty paper that we're going to put in here, so that when it's standing up, you'll see that. Now you could also put pieces here, and of course you could do the back too if you wanted. But I'm just going to do these. And I'm going to do them again with the liquid glue. Now you could put these pieces on first before you put your front on. It's easier, but you have to be really careful that you get them on the right side. And I'm saying that because I goofed it up really bad. Okay, it looks like the window sheet was sticking up there a little. Now we're going to start on our back piece. So we're going to go ahead and burnish our score lines on our bendy for the back. And go ahead and put the bend in the bendy. And now we've got our matting that is 3 3/4 by 2 3/4, and then our white greeting layer that is 2.5 by 3.5. And we're just going to put our simple little season's greetings on here. And then we'll go ahead and tape this down. Let's give it a little this way too, because we're going to give this a bend as well. So we want them to stick together really well. We're putting this bend in here because it's going to not want to stick, I think, on the bend if we don't. And then it will want to curl away from the paper. And then we'll go ahead and add our glue. And then after you have all that done, this piece you might want to give another burnish to try to get all those pieces going together in the bend. There's a lot of layers there. And then we'll just go ahead and pull in our card base. Now if you wanted, you could put some more designer on here, but I'm just going to leave it white. We'll just go ahead and center this guy. And there we have our cool Tower Bendy card with the cute little penguin place, using the penguin place stamp set and the penguin builder punch. And let me just pull in a couple other ones. Now I've used a decal die on this one, but let me show you some other looks, right, if you use different dies. So this one uses a plain, the layering circles die, just a circle. And then I've got some here where I use some color. Now on these ones, I did the other little penguin going down the hill for the back. You can see some different designer series papers. This one uses a globe punch, and I've done a little heat embossing on it. And here's one using the scalloped contours, and I've added the greeting on the inside and matted it. See, this one actually I gave another piece of designer series paper there because I added my window sheet after. That was before I realized that I had those rough edges. Here's one using the framed florets oval die, some retired paper, and you can see I added a greeting there. So there's so many different ways, and this is all using the penguins. Just imagine you could add, you know, do different stamp sets. Here I've added the paper before I did the die cut. This is the layering circles dies again. Here's one with a stitched rectangle die, and this one I forgot to put my greeting on before, so I actually added it on top of the window sheet, and that's been on there with lots of people looking at it because this was my original, and that's put on with glue dots, so they're pretty sturdy. And this one I pulled out an ornament die. I thought that turned out pretty cool, and then I had room to add a really thin greeting across the top. So hope you've enjoyed these this design, this card technique. And if you need to purchase any supplies to make your cards, go ahead and head to my store of the link below. And if you want that tutorial that's printable, I'll have my blog post link on the description to this video. So hope you enjoyed. Have a great day. Thanks for stopping by at the Roost.